Welcome back to another episode of the Shout at the Devils podcast. I'm Daniel Amoia. I run Devils Report on Instagram as well as write for the Hockey Writers. I'm here alongside Justin Brady, who runs Devils Fanatics on Instagram. And last night, the New Jersey Devils season came to a close. They lost in 5 games to the Carolina Hurricanes. A lot to dissect. They got out to a 3-0 lead, and it was like, wow, it looks like they're coming home with a chance to knot this series up. And then the wheels kind of just fell off the bus. Gave up 3 straight goals. Nico Hischier scored right after that to make it 4-3, but then got into penalty trouble as special teams have been the story of this entire series. I would love to go through all these episodes and see how many times I've said special teams. Caroline knots it up 4-4 on a 5-on-3. It goes into overtime. Jacob Markstrom turns into prime Martin Brodeur and keeps the Devils in it with some miraculous saves. It goes into double overtime, and there's the dagger as the Devils once again get into penalty trouble. 2 years ago was Jonas Siegenthaler taking a delay of game penalty in that exact same scenario. Now it was Dawson Mercer with a double minor high stick, and once again, Sebastian Aho seals the deal. Look, overall, the Devils were just so depleted with injury. I mean, I have not seen anything like that. There was not one healthy defenseman out of their starting six. It's just truly remarkable. You can't fault them too much in that regard. Obviously, there's still some things to fault them on, and we're gonna have a whole offseason of content where we're talking about exactly that. Who's to blame, what's to blame, where the Devils can go from here. But the bottom line is they're done now and they have to turn their sights towards 2025-26. What were your immediate thoughts?
First off, I'm just really proud of them because they didn't give up. They didn't waver at all. They fought through a lot of adversity just to get to the playoffs this season, and they fought hard against Carolina. Yeah, it wasn't the result you wanted. They lost in 5 games. They're the first team eliminated in the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's not ideal at all. But thinking about what they've gone through, they've had so many various injuries. Jack and Luke Hughes both out. You lose Siegenthaler for a large portion of the season. You lose Kovacevic there. It's been a lot that this team has dealt with and to be able to overcome it. And it was like a next man up mentality. And the guys fought hard. That I can respect a lot. And yeah, the power play. That's what haunted them this series. They went 0 for 16 on the power play, gave up a shorthanded goal even. Carolina took advantage of numerous power play opportunities when they got them. That was the main difference of the series. I believe the Devils were actually the better 5-on-5 team. They had more goals than Carolina in this series, 5-on-5, and that was like our biggest worry this series was were the Devils going to be able to play neck and neck against Carolina 5-on-5, and they did that. But Carolina's penalty kill, there's a reason they're the best in the league, and the Devils couldn't score one goal against them, unfortunately, and that's what came back to bite them at the end of it.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how crazy sports are. If you told us at the beginning of the series that the Devils would win the 5-on-5 battle, outscored Carolina 10-9, and get superb goaltending, Jacob Markstrom was really tremendous that entire series, besides a short stretch in the second period. But look, any goalie could have one bad period. I mean, look at the best goalie in the world in Connor Hellebuck, who had an entire bad playoffs. Markstrom was just really lights out, and he proved that in the overtime as well, and yet the Devils still couldn't come through. And look, it's easy to fault them, be like, oh, like their power play got exposed, even though they were good in the regular season. Losing out on Luke Hughes is such a massive difference there. Obviously, he didn't come back after game 1, and he was the one who was really driving that bus after Dougie went down. He looked like he belonged. Luke Hughes had 22 points in his last 22 games. He played the part of a top defenseman in the National Hockey League. And that's just such a massive blow for the Devils. Dougie Hamilton, I will find out what he says at exit interviews, but I would find it very hard to believe he was not at 100%. He just looked like a shell of himself. We know he's been great at quarterbacking the power play in the past, and he is like kind of overwhelmed. And yes, Carolina's penalty kill is very good, and Dougie isn't exactly creating things with his speed. It's more his poise and his ability to get shots through. So someone like Luke would be able to create that open ice if he was healthy. So that played a massive difference. And it's not just the Luke injury. Brendan Dillon going down, Jonathan Kovacevic going down. Like I said, Siegenthaler stepping is, I mean, I can't believe Jonas Siegenthaler. He was not supposed to be playing in this series at all. And the team needed him, so he was like, screw it. And he battled through it. it was just truly commendable. We learned a lot about this team, as Keith said. Not all sunshine and rainbows. They have a lot of work to do, don't get me wrong. But with their top guys, with some of their defensemen, with their goaltending, they have a solid core in place. Now they need to supplement those guys. Like we saw even the top guys, Jesper Bratt, Timo Meyer, Nico Hischier, they showed they can perform in the playoffs. And even someone like Simone Nemitz too, like stepping into that role and completely flipping the narrative of his season from, oh my God, this guy is a liability out there to, wow, this guy looks like a top defenseman in the league. I mean, a complete 180. That is the importance that we've talked about of making the playoffs. Even if you don't win a single series, the Devils learned a lot about their team, and they have a lot of positives to take forward that if they didn't make those playoffs, they would not have had. So, yes, it's unfortunate. And like I said, like none of these positives are an excuse for the fact that Tom Fitzgerald has a lot of work to do because bottom line is this team still struggles to score goals, and that's the most important thing for a hockey team. But there's still a lot of positives to take forward. So it's on Fitzgerald now to do that work and figure it out because there's a lot to be happy with.
I think there's more positives to take from this season than there were last season.
Oh,
Definitely.
by far. It's not even
There,
close.
there is a lot to build off from this season, which is a great thing for the Devils. It's unfortunate how it ended, but you look at Nico Hischier, who led by example, led the team in goals, was just a pain for Carolina, laying his body on the line, sacrificing his body every single play, blocking every shot he can possible. He led by example in this series and was everything that you could ask for out of a captain. Just really remind me of Patrice Bergeron, and that's like Nico Hischier feels like the modern day Patrice Bergeron, in my opinion. He was spectacular. Bratt did his thing. Timo Meyer, a lot of people were shaming him for missing two like big time goals in games 2 and 3. But after that, game 4 and game 5, wow, some of his best hockey ever as a New Jersey Devil. He was a pain in the ass for Carolina. Every team wants a Timo Meyer on their team come playoff time because he brings so many different aspects to his game, the goal scoring, the physicality. He's able to get under the other team's skin more than anyone. You saw the Carolina fans, they were booing him during warm-ups of game 5, and then he was able to silence them. And like he was great. And to see those three guys performing so well is great. And then Nemec, I think playing him was probably the best thing that could ever happen to his career. It really is. And he said himself after game 3, I feel very confident in my game right now. And it shows. Like he looks so poised. It didn't look like he was in his second year in the NHL out there. He looked like he was an NHL defenseman that's been in this league for 10 years now, stepping up, making plays defensively, chipping in offensively, and he had the biggest goal of the Devils season in game 3 in that double overtime. And the sky's the limit now for him. Like he has a lot to build off from. And now I wouldn't even think about trading him. I think he's earned that possibility to earn himself a spot in the team next season. He's definitely earned himself that. Really give credit to him. Like that wasn't easy coming in, considering all the crap he's gone through this season with the media, his comments that kind of got blown out of proportion, just all of that. And to come out there and play some of his best hockey in his career, that's awesome to see. Another shout out, Brian Dumoulin. He ate up around 70 plus minutes in combined between game 3 and game 5. He was just terrific back there, and I give him a lot of credit. I really hope the Devils bring him back in. It was just a very under the radar trade for the Devils. Not many people are like, "Oh, cool, Dumoulin. All right, I guess it's just for a 20 game rental, sure." But now it's like, all right, we got to bring Dumoulin back, and now that's like a big problem for the Devils. But it's a good problem to have because they have a lot of questions on their defense, like who's going to be those 6 guys that are in the lineup come opening night. And I do not know the answer to that right now. I feel like you could throw out a bunch of guys and make an argument for a bunch of guys, and I wouldn't argue with it. So Dumoulin, if you could bring him back, that would be awesome. Shout out Brett Pesce as well. The Devils are so lucky to have a guy like him, and really his playoff experience showed, laying the body out there, being such a rock back there defensively for the Devils. He saved multiple goals, I believe, in that game 2 for the Devils. Pesce was terrific, and yeah, I know I'm going on, but like there's a lot of positives to take from this series, and it's good to get that playoff experience under your belt for players like Nemec, more experience for guys like Heischer and Bratt. And right now, the biggest question for the Devils is how are they going to address their bottom six issue because they weren't able to get much scoring at all this season and in the playoffs. And it's like I hate to bring this question up, but like, can they stay healthy next season? And that's a question that none of us can answer because we do not know. And when I say that question, I'm looking at Jack Hughes in particular, and I know it's out of his control. I feel bad for him, but like he's the Devils' top guy. He is like he's the poster boy, and the fact that he can't stay healthy for back-to-back years now is concerning. And this is not the first or second time. This is like the fourth time he's been ruled out for a season, and it's starting to get concerning now that he cannot play a full 82 game season for the team. And that's something that we could say for a whole nother episode, but health is going to be a big question mark for the team. And if they're going to have any success next season, which I think they will, I think they're going to be a much better team, better constructed team. But health is going to be the key thing if the Devils are going to be Stanley Cup contenders come next season.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's unfortunate because in terms of Jack's most recent injury, it was completely unavoidable. But when you have all those injuries as a whole, it's hard not to question anything with the training staff or medical staff. We'll probably never know for sure how much of an implication, if at all, that has. But regardless, I mean, the second year in a row, even taking Jack Hughes aside, that the Devils were decimated with injuries and that kind of derailed the season. In this case, at least they were able to make the playoffs. But you mentioned Nemitz. I was laughing a bit. Do I finally get an apology for saying I thought Simone Nemitz should be prioritized over Seamus Casey
You, you,
for the
you get
playoffs?
You get a rightful apology. It's a well-deserved apology. Nemec stepped up to the occasion. Look, stepped up to the occasion, and I'm not like mad to say like I was wrong. Like many people were wrong. Like 95% people doubted Simone Nemec, and his play during the season wasn't good. But like he amped it up come playoff time. Like, and that's where it matters the most. And now he has a chip on his shoulder heading into this off season. And I'm really excited to see what we can get from Nemec come next season. I'm really amped up for him.
And I think that just goes to show the role that confidence and the mental side of the game plays, right? Because we saw Nemitz last season. I mean, he was very, very solid as a 19-year-old coming into the league. He held his own for sure. And then he has that injury, all the media stuff happens. And like, that's why I was never so down on him because I knew it was a confidence thing and it wasn't an ability thing. He was drafted number 2 overall for a reason. I watched him play since he was 16 at the World Championships. It was just unfortunate that this was all happening to him. And we saw in after game 3, he said it himself, I got my confidence back. And then we saw how he played after that. He was a completely different player. I mean, there was that game against Winnipeg a couple months ago where Sheldon Keefe basically said post game, yeah, it was a close game if Simone Nevitz didn't play.
Yeah.
Like 3 goals in a row were directly his fault and he just wasn't confident. And now that he had that confidence back, you see he's much more poised with the puck. He looked the part of an NHL defenseman, and that's something like that wasn't a fluke. Like you could tell the way he was playing, he was legitimately good. So now it's a matter of if he's going to continue work on the little things and then build off that for the future. But he's still so young, and everyone's just spoke of him glowingly. Big step forward for Simone Nemec, and just that storyline alone is worth making the playoffs for the Devils. They're going to have a lot of decisions to make. We're going to get into all that as the offseason continues. But, I mean, if you're not counting Nemitz or Dumoulin, the Devils have 3 guys on each side locked up already. So they're going to have some maneuvering. It never hurts to have depth. It never hurts to have valuable trade assets. You never know. There were comments made from a certain Canucks team front office member saying that Quinn Hughes would like to play with his brothers. We're not going to get too deep into that right now, but you never know what's going to happen over an offseason. It's going to be very interesting to see how the Devils approach all this, but you mentioned the depth scoring. That's the key thing. The Devils, their top 6, really, I can't even say top 6. When Jack Hughes is healthy, they have 4 guys who are driving the bus. Jesper Bratt, Timo Meier, Nico Hischier, Jack Hughes. Aside from that, they don't get nearly enough. If we look just in comparison to Carolina, I wrote about this yesterday. The Devils' third line averaged 0.38 points per game. The Hurricanes was 0.61. So that's a lot more. The Devils' fourth line averaged 0.18 points per game. The Hurricanes averaged zero point 0.4. That's more than double. And that, I mean, you look at guys like, I think Tomas Tatar had like 14 points. Justin Dowling had 7 points. Nate Bastion probably at around that range. Those guys were playing almost every night. And look, you're not sitting here being like, oh, your fourth liners should be scoring 25 goals in a season. That's not realistic. But you need these guys to not be complete liabilities. A lot of these guys were great defensively, but it doesn't really matter if you're great defensively if you're just not chipping in offensively whatsoever and you're still a net negative. So there has to be a balance there. You could make the argument whether or not Fitzgerald emphasized physicality too much and got away from the Devils' identity and speed. And also, look, I mean, Sheldon Keefe is more of a defensive coach. Offenses usually struggle a little bit more when he takes over, but their defensive improvements make up for it. And that's how it was this season. But the Devils still need that higher end talent to be able to push past that and still put up respectable goals, even if they're not towards the top of the league. If they could play more like top 10, not that they have to be first, but then have a defense that's towards the top of the league and have great goaltending, you're still in a very, very good position. But Devils, I think, finished this season 26th in even strength goals. And you want to talk about Jack all you want. Even when Jack was healthy, the Devils were 21st in the NHL in even strength goals. So that's simply not going to cut it. And look, they battled. They showed a lot about their heart. They outscored Carolina, the best 5-on-5 team in the league, clear cut. They outscored them 10-9 at even strength in the playoffs. So it's almost miraculous how bad the special teams battle was. And again, that goes back to Luke's injury. It's a big part of it. But th- they gave it everything they had. They had a record of 24-13-2 following a loss this season. So they were dominant when right after they had faced adversity, they completely shut it out of their minds, got back on the ice, and did what they had to do. And that's not a lot of teams let it spiral out of control. Now, that also worked the other way. The Devils didn't win more than 3 games at a time. They haven't in 2 seasons now, which is also a big problem. It still shows a lot about the character of this team that they're able to bounce back, overcome adversity, and we saw that in the playoff run. Can't say it enough that just making the playoffs is so important for a franchise. And they just have to build off it. There's no excuse. They're in their window. I think, what, 2 seasons after this, Nico Heischer's a free agent? Like, before you know, time's ticking. And, like, I'm not going to start panicking about that now if I'm a Devils fan. But, like, you still have to win eventually. Like, it's not always going to be pretty. Obviously, last season, goaltending did them in. This season, depth scoring. But you got to put it all together at some point. And it's getting a lot closer to the point where, like, if Fitzgerald doesn't figure it out next season, then there's some conversations to be had. So I feel like we say it every offseason, so I almost hate saying this phrase because it's so cliche, but this is an extremely important offseason for the New Jersey Devils.
It always is for the Devils. When is it not? But I think they addressed the defense and goaltending very well last offseason. I think those are two of the biggest problems that the Devils have faced for like a decade long, ever since Brodeur left and all those other guys there. So to have that kind of like locked into place, they have a lot of guys signed long term on the blue line. They have Markstrom for another year. They can bring back Jake Allen if they want. If they don't bring him back, you have Nico Dawes there. And then in 2 years down the line, you have Mikhail Yegorov out of Boston University, who's playing freaking amazing out of his mind. So you have a lot of potential there with the defense and goaltending. And then it's just like you got to address the bottom six somehow. You got to find a way to. You're going to have to let some guys go. We're going to get into the free agency talk in a future episode coming up here. You're going to have to let some guys go that have been with this team for quite a while now. And it's going to suck to see those guys go, but the tough decisions are going to have to be made, and you have to improve this hockey team. And I think the most important thing is I think the Devils should go into this offseason thinking about how can we construct a team to beat the Carolina Hurricanes? Because the odds are the Devils and Hurricanes are going to be two of the top teams in the Metro Division for the next 10 years to come. Carolina is not going anywhere. A lot of people think their window's closing. It is not. They have one of the best prospect pools in the league right now. They are not going anywhere. I don't think the Devils are going anywhere either. And the odds are the Devils are gonna have to face Carolina in the first or second round basically every season if they want to win a cup. And the last two times the Devils have made the playoffs, they lost to Carolina, both basically like in the exact same ways, unfortunately. So I think you want to focus on that, find a way to beat Carolina, and then from there on, like anything could happen come playoff time. So I think focus on trying to find a way to beat the Hurricanes because that's kind of been their kryptonite for the last 3 years now. They still haven't been able to win a game in their barn ever since January of 2023. That's something that you really want to focus on, find a way to win in their building. So yeah, little things like that, but yeah, find a way to beat that Carolina team once and for all.
I'm taking the Devils' top scorers over the Hurricanes' top scorers basically any day. If you look at the numbers, the Devils have higher end scoring talent than they do, but they are just such a deeper team and they have four lines that will wear you out. Whereas the Devils, it's really those top two lines, if even that. And then you get to that bottom six and it's just not really comparable. There were a lot of forwards who struggled this season. Stefan Nason actually really struggled after Christmas. He did not have a single even strength goal after Christmas, which is, I mean, he had 8 before Christmas. So his production was either power play or bust, which is unfortunate. Paul Cotter is someone whose game seems like it would be built for the playoffs, but he was basically hemmed in his own zone the entire time. Same thing with Cody Glass. But again, like they didn't have the most ideal line mates either, so it's kind of hard to judge. So everything circles back to depth scoring. The Devils absolutely have to figure that out. I will give some positivity, silver lining in that regard. Three guys, it may not have shown on the score sheet. Eric Holla, Dawson Mercer, Andre Palat were all great in the series. They were able to control pace of play. They only Mercer, I believe, scored out of those three, but they kept it pretty even against a very good Carolina team. If anything, you look at the numbers, they outchanced them. I have the numbers right here. Holla, Mercer, and Palat combined outchanced Carolina by 28 at even strength. I mean, that is not easy to do. The issue is obviously their contracts, and because of the Devils' lack of depth, those guys are forced into the top six and get exposed. Whereas if the Devils are able to get that depth, those guys could slot down the lineup where they belong and feast against easier competition. They'll look like a much more well-rounded team. So yes, depth is at fault a lot, and you would like those guys to live up to their contracts more so, but they're still very serviceable players. They're able to play well. All three of them have had previous playoff success. So those three in particular, if they're in the bottom six, I think could still be valuable pieces to the team. Obviously, Eric Hall went through that really bad stretch. He picked it up. Dawson Mercer may not be the top six player that people once thought he would be, but that doesn't mean he still isn't a valuable player. He's a great penalty killer. He'll still score about 20 goals a year. He stays healthy. That's a very important thing, especially on a team that does not stay healthy. And then Palat, for whatever reason, just looks better in the playoffs. I will never understand it. He just looks like a different player. It makes no sense to me. I don't know how sustainable it is, but he's done it his whole career, so I'm not going to question it. But yeah, again, you would like someone like that to live up to his, but it's not his fault that the Devils hand him that check. Like at the end of the day, he's pretty similar to the player he's always been. He was never a big point scorer. So it's a tough situation, but there's some silver linings there that the Devils at least have a few pieces that can be in their bottom six. I don't agree with people saying, oh, like they should just be shipped off immediately, like just because they're not living up to their contracts. You still got to fill those holes regardless. And look, a team could bring in maybe 2, 3 forwards. You're not going to be bringing 6, 7 in an off season. That's just not realistic for as much as people want that to happen. So we're going to get on to the nitty gritty of that stuff and how realistic certain additions are, what moves Tom Fitzgerald could make. Obviously, the draft's going to come up as well, but um, Devils overall, they can't say the season was a complete failure because they fixed a lot. Showed the players got acclimated to Keith's system. There were a lot of positive storylines, especially, I mean, Nico Hischier just gets better and better every single year. I know you brought him up. So yeah, it's just a matter of how they move forward from here.
Definitely, yeah. A lot of guys are getting better. Nico got better this season. Brack got better this season. I think Timo had an improvement from last season. I think Luke Hughes had a drastic improvement from last season. So a lot of the guys that you want to see improve are improving, and it's a lot to build off. Jack Hughes even had a better season up until he got injured. So those are like kind of like your core five guys there, like Jack, Luke, Nico, Brader, and Timo. Like those are your core five right there. And to see them have much improved seasons, that's great to see. And I'm really looking forward to see what this team does this offseason and what it looks like come October. I feel very optimistic that the Devils could be a cup contenders next season. I really think they can. And it's an easy fix because, like, to fix goaltending or defense, that's not that easy to do. But to know like what you need, like we need bottom six scoring. Like I think they can address that very easily through free agency, trades, shipping out possible guys there in the bottom six if they need to. Like they have the assets to do it. They have the possible they'll have some money to work with this offseason. Not much, but a little bit. So look, I think they can make it work, and I'm looking forward to next season already.
Yeah, well, I mean, the cap's going up a solid amount, so that certainly works in their favor. They will also likely, not confirmed, have Arseny Gritsuk joining them, who there were 278 skaters in the KHL who were under the age of 24 to start the season. Gritsuk led all of them. He was almost a point per game. So if he lives up to what people think he can be, that is some much needed depth scoring for the Devils. I mean, everyone's talking about Ivan Demidov in Montreal. Granted, he's much younger. Gritsuk on the same team had much better numbers than him. So I'm not saying Gritsuk's going to be better than Demidov, different situations. But regardless, still something positive for the Devils to look forward to. And then you look, we mentioned defensemen and the improvement on defense, but that extended to the forwards as well. Timo Meyer became an elite defender this season when he was below average every other season of his career. Jack Hughes raised his defensive game tremendously. Those are big things. Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes became staples of the penalty kill. If they were on the penalty kill 2, 3 seasons ago, people probably would have cringed. But they took huge strides to mature their game this season. A lot of that credit goes to Sheldon Keefe. I know given the first round exit and his history in the playoffs, he might not be the most popular with people right now, but look, he was working with the roster he had. Those injuries and they outplayed Carolina in at even strength. So I personally don't want to hear it, but yeah, the Devils just need to figure out that depth scoring. Big offseason ahead of them. So we appreciate you all sticking with us this season. We appreciate all the support. We really, really do. And we're looking forward to see what's in store because there's going to be a lot of storylines coming up, a lot of change likely within the New Jersey Devils, a lot of decisions to make. Tom Fitzgerald needs to get it right this time, period. So we'll see if that happens. Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on a future episode, and peace out.